Whoa. Jesus. Gotta be careful with that next time. Oh, man. Rip the wires out of the switch here. Hello everybody and welcome back to a new video. So today what we have here on the bench is a dehumidifier. Now this is the dehumidifier that actually is in the Mrs. and mine's bedroom, and we noticed a couple of weeks ago that it is not dehumidifying. So we noticed that there was no water in the collection tank here. Now what is interesting is that it will power on and it does seem to be working. That's why we didn't really think much of it, because the lights are still on, which I like the lights because it makes for a really nice ambiance at night and perfect night light. But the other thing too that is working is the fan. So that's leading me to believe that there might only be a single issue with this, but we'll see. I think it might be the peltier device that's inside on the heatsink, but it could also be something with the board. So really the only thing to do is to crack this open and let's see what we got going on. Alright, first things first, we don't need the reservoir tank. I was looking all over this thing for how to get in. I only see 4 screws here. So I'll try and get in and see where it leads to. Okay, that got me nowhere. Is there something maybe under these feet? Oh my god. Of course these things are hidden. Which means there's probably a screw underneath each of these. At least we're making some kind of progress. And at least they're all the same size. But then the question is, what's under here that needs to be screwed on? Hope it's just not like a void. Okay, we are making some progress. Alright, so it's going to be kind of tough to see just because of the camera angle. Again, I'm still working on the plans for the overhead. Yeah, we got 4 screws, 1 in each of these voids here. So that should give us access to the rest of this. Come on. This just does not want to come out. Yeah. We'll come back to that one. Alright, these look like machine screws, so these might be going in the metal. These aren't the more coarse screws that go into the plastic, so... We got big clumps of cat fur here. I'm sure there's going to be a lot of that inside. Whoa. Jesus. Gotta be careful with that next time. Oh, man. Rip the wires out of the switch here. Wasn't expecting it to come out that hard. Looks like we're going to have to probably hardwire them into the board here. This is actually for the LEDs. Man, that stinks about that board. I was even thinking while I was doing it, like, you know, I should put in my little tool, take it out, because there's probably tabs in there. I'm like, screw it. I'll just hulk it out. What's the worst that's gonna happen? Well, a little extra work, that's what's gonna happen. But all I have to do is figure out which one is 3.3 volts in the ground, and then I should be able to hard solder it in. What I'll do is I'll take this connector off and then just wire it right through. It'll be fine. Again, this thing was like 30 bucks, so I'm not really all that concerned about it. Oh, okay. Wait. Okay, so it is labeled. Okay, so this actually is labeled exactly what goes where, so that's good. We got 5 volts ground. HRGRB, so yeah. Okay, we should be good. Alright, so this thing's fairly dusty, so I mean it's been running non-stop since we got it for a wedding shower, so little vacuum. I'm not going to go too crazy about it. Alrighty, so we are making some good progress. Peel this back for the time being. Alright, so we have the DC power going in here. Let's kind of pull this stuff out for now. And then this goes through here. Okay, so then we got 2 outputs. I think I have 2 devices I'm trying to look for here. So there might be 2 peltiers. But first, let's take this heatsink off, and then should have a better idea on what we're looking for. Yep, there we are. Okay, so I'll see if I can explain how these peltier dehumidifiers work as clearly as I can. I mean, I only just learned about this myself. So basically what it's going to do is it'll suck in more humid air through the back here. And then this heatsink, to the way I understand it, has the hot side of the peltier module. So that'll blow the humid air onto that, and then the cold side here is where the condensation forms, and then that drips down into the collection reservoir. And you can actually kind of see like the watermarks on this particular heatsink. So I think that's kind of cool how they work. Alright, so now we have to test the peltier devices, but first I want to test the board, make sure we're actually getting power to them. I'm going to try and do this hands-free. It's positive there, negative here. This might not work. Kind of want to just slide off on me. Alright, should be alright there. Crappy angle, I know. We'll put this on volts DC, see what we got. Yeah, I'm not getting any voltage from here. Maybe I should try and back probe it instead. Alright, let's back probe in here. That's what I should have done to begin with. So I'm getting 0.43 volts. And this one I'm getting 18 volts. Just out of curiosity, how much are we getting into the device? Yeah, 18 volts. So I think we only have one working connector here. So I think we have to take this apart and kind of start tracing traces and testing some things here. Just make sure it's not the connector itself. Yeah, nah. Nothing even back here. Okay, we got 5 volts coming from that capacitor. 18 volts on this capacitor. Alright, I guess the next step to figuring this out is we gotta take this board off and see what's going on. I guess we'll just unplug stuff here. So what I'm confused about though is if I'm getting power to one of these peltier devices, then I would have thought that at least one of them would work, especially if it's getting 18 volts, which I mean they can still be bad. But it also means we seem to have an issue on the board somewhere. Alright, honestly I don't think that this is going to be the issue, but I do just want to rule it out. I'm just going to test these capacitors, because I've never heard of this brand united before. Okay, this one's good. Yeah, and this one's good. Yeah, I didn't think that the capacitors were going to be the issue. Did a little digging online, and I did find what I needed for this voltage regulator here, but unfortunately when I was trying to find the model for this voltage regulator, because this one's different from this one, I could find zero information about this one. No data sheet, nobody's selling it, and this one is, the model number is E12LG. I just couldn't find anything. This I found a plethora of information. And then obviously the IC here, this is the brains of the whole operation here, but I don't really think that this is going to be an issue here. I mean, we can test it, but since everything else is working, I think that this might be working just fine. So I'm going to hope that this one is the one that's bad, because this is easier to replace. I just don't know the values of this one, because I just couldn't find any information on it. So I'm hoping that this one is good. So let's test the voltage regulators. Okay, so I did have to plug this in, and the circuit board is on. I did turn it on from the power button. So the left pin here is going to be the power, and then according to the data sheet, the ground is here in the back. So we got 17.69 volts, so that's close enough to the 18, and this should read 5. And that's 5 volts exactly, so that voltage regulator is good. Let's try this other one. Alright, so we have 18.19 going in. And I have nothing coming out for this one. It's kind of like hovering. Alright, so I think that this one's actually bad. Okay, so I was poking and prodding a little bit off camera. I was also cleaning off the peltier devices. I was trying to figure out an easy way to test them, which I did, and I'll show that in a minute. So I did figure out that one of these is bad. So here's what the interesting thing is. So remember when we were doing the initial testing, the first port here was the one that had 18 volts. So let's test that. And right now we got nothing. Alright, so let's test the other one. Now port 2 has 18 volts. Now watch this. This is something really interesting. So let's switch these. So let's just go back to port 2 here. Now we got 0.058 volts, and nothing really there. But now we got 18 volts here. So clearly one of these is good, one of these is bad. I think this one's a good one. I will show you how I tested them. But the other thing is I think that this needs to be like a complete circuit for the whole thing to work. It might be a fail-safe thing, like a safety feature. So, because otherwise one of these should be theoretically getting warm, and they're both ice, and they're both room temperatures. So there's nothing going on there. So let me show you something interesting here. All right, so I'm going to start this off by saying this is not really a great idea. So I have this variable power supply that I bought. It's actually more for testing electronics that don't come with power supplies, so this is not the intended use for it. So I hooked up some metal pieces in here, and I'm not going to really go into too much on how I did it, because again, this is really not the greatest idea, but it is just what I have. So you can test these with like a power supply. So I'm going to make sure positive is positive, negative is negative. I'm just going to kind of push this in here for a few seconds and take it out. That's cold. That's warm on that side. So you got to be careful with this because you can burn yourself. That's why I'm not really recommending this. So this one actually feels good. And I'm going to take this one, which we got no voltage out of. Positive, positive, negative, negative. I'm going to pick this one up because I feel nothing. I feel very slight warmth. Very, very, very slight. And that could just be from my finger. So, yeah. I think this one's bad. This one's good. Alright, so then where does that leave us now? Well, we gotta replace this. I'm actually gonna mark this that this one is the bad one. Now I did have another dehumidifier. I thought that this was the problem, and it wasn't. It was a power switch, so I ordered one and never used it. So I'll double check the model number. They might be the same. If they are, we can splice in the wires, if I didn't already do that on the old one, and then see if it works. Alright, and we are back. I got the new modules here. I got them on Amazon. I'll have a link in the description below. But if you're working on one of these yourself, you'll just want to verify that they're the right ones for your application, because there's a few different ones out there. I ended up getting 2 of them. It's just kind of what came in the pack. And it also kind of works out too, because what I was thinking is that we already have one go bad. So I'm kind of wondering if this one might be going too, or it's probably okay. It can probably last a lot longer, but either way, figure why not? Came 2 for 1 deal thing here, so might as well just replace both of them and start fresh. So we got one issue to do though. So we have to take this connector and then move them onto the new modules, because they obviously do not come with connectors. So we'll have to solder these on, which isn't that big of a deal. Alright, so first things first, we gotta clip the wires here. I'm gonna get generally... Oh, actually I should have enough no matter where I clip this. This new one actually comes with a decent amount of wire, so I'd rather have extra, so we'll just kind of clip it there. We'll set this good one aside. I'll put it in my box of things and can probably maybe use it for another fun little project, or even just to have a spare. I'm just gonna strip these. I'm going to strip off a little more here. And it does look like these wires are already pre-tinned. I'll just tie them together for now. Not obviously soldered on. Should go pretty easy. Little flux should do the trick here. I'll just put a little more on, but I think that one's good. I think I overdid it on the other wire, but yeah, it should be good. Okay, that's one module down. And we'll move on to the other one. A little more and should be good. Alright, I think that'll do it. Now we just have to cover up all these solder joints and then should be able to start putting this back together. Yeah, I have to do the same here. And we'll just tape this up. And they go up a little bit because the alligator clip kind of didn't like super damage the wire, but did put some dimples in it. So just cover those up just in case. Okay, great. Well, this is back together. Now we got to worry about the thermal paste on here, so we're going to clean this up next. So I'm not going to worry too much about thermal paste in here. I'm just going to clean it off best I can. I mean, it's just a little dehumidifier for myself, so I don't think it's going to be super critical. I thought cleaning out the thermal paste on the Xbox was a pain in the ass. This is like really in the corners and stuff. Like I said, I'm not going to worry too much about it. Let's get it best we can. Alright, I guess the next thing to do is to put on the thermal paste. So I'm just going to be using the MX6 that I have in stock. Definitely would rather not use this, because this is my good stuff, but it's just what I keep in stock because of the Xboxes and whatnot and the PlayStations. Game consoles, basically, but I think that would be enough. So the cold side is, on this particular module, is the one that has the printing on the face. Now it's might be different for other ones, but basically how I determined it was the red wire from the bottom coming out on the right side, that would distinguish the cold side. And you can also plug it in, which is what I did to verify. So we'll just drop this in. Okay. It's one module in. Put the second one in. Wires kind of make it a little tricky. That should be good. And now I'm going to plug this in. It's the one on the top we'll put in output 1, and then the bottom we'll put in output 2. And then we'll just kind of vaguely put this on the top for testing. Sure, that'll be fine. And then I'll plug this in, turn it on. And I guess we'll just play the waiting game, see if we get any condensation on the heatsink or not. So we'll let this run for a little bit and then we'll be back. All right, so I've had this running for a little over an hour now, and as you can see, we got moisture. And this heatsink is nice and cold, and we got moisture on it, it's dripping down. So yeah, this is working very well, which is good because when I was putting in the bottom heatsink, I did happen to notice that it did crack a little bit right by where the wires are, particularly the red wire, and I was kind of worried that it wasn't going to work, but it does appear to be working fine. And even when I did this off camera. Of course, my multimeter is not turning on now. Need to get a new one. I did test the connections. I was pulling 8.5 volts both on output 1 and 2. So this thing's working pretty well. So I guess all that's left to do is to repair my screw up on the wire, and then we'll get this back together. All right, so the first thing I gotta do is get this connector off. So just gonna flux this up a little bit. We'll use my desoldering gun to get these off. Yeah, just flew out at me. Alright, then I gotta prep these wires, so I'm gonna start fresh here and just clip these off. Separate these out. And then basically just twisting the wires around, so then, because this is a braided wire, so try and twist them around so then it's more uniform. It's not really working very well, very thin wires, but I just needed enough to get through those holes. Alright, first one's in. Alright, so we'll just continue going through and putting the rest of these in. Oops, got a little solder there. Alright, I'm just going to trim these down just a little bit. We got some wire hairs and I just don't want anything touching or shorting or whatever. Then we just got to clean up the flux, and then this should be ready to go. Alrighty, I plugged this back in. Let's see if the LEDs work. Ta-da! Beautiful. Alright, this thing is ready to go back together. Alright, first things first, let's put the board back on. This only goes on one way. Oh, and I did unplug everything again. Mostly just to make things a little easier. Plus, I gotta reroute all these wires anyway. So we gotta do a little wire management here. This is kind of a bit of a mess. Oh, and this is the fan, so we'll just plug that in right there. Wait, I got a better idea on how to do this. Let's start this over. I'm really not going for looks here. Honestly, really don't care. I'm gonna lay this down. I was trying to do it a certain way for the shop, but it's kind of flopping all over the place. That definitely looks a lot better. Ah, there it goes. That looks a lot neater. Ah, almost forgot. What I believe is the temperature sensor. I think that's where it originally was. I honestly don't remember. I also don't feel like going back into my footage. So that's where it's going to go from now. And then we'll plug the board in here. Almost forgot to put this back on. Cover the wires. Alright, now this whole thing is ready to go in. Should go this way. There's so many things in the way here. There we go. And we got these two screws to hold it in place. And this part's probably gonna get a little awkward. This is probably the reason why that connector was on there, make this part easier. Alright. I believe we have the LEDs where they should be. Then we just got these 4 screws to put in. Alright, we just have the last, what the hell are these, 8 screws to go in? Great, just gotta put these feet on. And we're done. Well, that wasn't too bad. About $10 for the 2 peltier molders, and it saved me about 30 bucks, and also saved this dehumidifier from becoming e-waste. And it wasn't too hard of a repair to do either. Well, except for that mess up with the connector that I had to fix, but I digress. Either way, it will be good to get this back into the bedroom to dehumidify our air. I really didn't realize until we haven't had this the last couple weeks the difference that this thing really actually made. So with that said, thank you so much for watching. Like, share, subscribe, and all that good stuff. And remember, fix it, don't ditch it. Have a good one.